Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friend? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So pumped to have you here. My name is Nico Rapclis. If you are new around these parts, I am the host around here. Now, this episode is going to be a really fun and exciting one. This is with my good friend Eddie Pinero of Your World Within. So it's a really cool story because Eddie, I've been consuming his content for a long time. Back when I was driving Uber, sleeping on a futon in my mom's office, and it was just really cool to finally get connected with him. He's become a close friend with me here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And we had such a great conversation around his content and what it really takes to be great and have a great mindset and really go out there and achieve great things and become the best version of yourself. So we had an incredible interview and just a great conversations actually on my birthday as well. So you're not going to want to miss a single second of this episode. Before we do jump into this episode, I want to let you know about a few things. Our Magnetic Manifesting Skool community. It's a powerful community of over almost 700 people. We go live every single week and we have a detailed course in showing you how to truly manifest from the Woo and the Do framework, which has been something that has drastically helped my life and my client's life. So you're going to want to check that out. We also have a free training video that walks through the Woo and Do framework. So make sure and check that out. All links will be down below. And then if you want to learn more about our live podcast events, head on over to justgrowpodcast.com. All the links that I talked about will be down in the show notes in the video description. But without further ado, let's jump into this interview with Eddie Pinero.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man? So good to be here.
Here we are. This is a cool moment. I mean, as we've discussed a fair bit, but for the people that are watching, it's been quite a journey because I used to listen to your stuff all the time when I was driving Uber, and just really helped me cast the vision and just stay motivated. And we connected on social at the end of last year sometime, and then we ended up connecting here. You came to an event, and then we just getting to hang out and stuff. So it's pretty cool how when you really put something in place, you set some intentions about connecting with awesome people, and then all of a sudden it comes into reality.
Yeah, it really is. Here we are, and it's just really cool to hear that the speech is, because you do so much for so many people. So when you're like, yeah, I used to listen to your stuff, it's like, but also it's reciprocal. I talked about in one of my speeches the other day, your Uber story and how much it inspired me, just to do the little extra, to be a little crazy. And so just what goes around comes around, man.
Absolutely, man. I think about that with other people that I've been very inspired by. And you look back and you reflect on it. It's like, what if you didn't keep going when times got tough? And then that didn't give me the inspiration, which then I didn't keep going in times that got tough, which then didn't inspire the people that I've been influencing. And there's all sorts of people. And I think at the end of the day, we're all just collectively helping each other.
Yeah.
And so when we continue on the path and stay perseverant, it just gives other people the permission to do the same.
Which is a really cool way to put it, because when you are in those quote unquote tough times, It's it feels you think about you and you think how personal it is. It's like the world's against me. But the way you just laid it out, it's no, this is life. We all face this. And by the way, if you find the courage to push forward, not only is it going to help you, but it's going to help the next person, the next person, the next person. I love that. I love that.
One of my friends told me one time, it was the best compliment I've ever heard. He said, when you get better, everyone around you gets better. And I don't think that's contingent specifically to me. I think when you get better, everyone around you gets better.
Yeah.
When the person on the TV over there, when they get better, people around them are getting better. So I think this has just been coming to me more and more lately. We're all just collectively trying to help each other.
I love that. Yeah. especially with the scalability of online. You know, like you can say something meaningful and it'll reach literally millions of people. That's so,
Absolutely, man.
it's crazy.
So I'd love to dive into your story a little bit more.
Sure.
You know, what got you started? You know, you're doing amazing things. You're putting out great content. You're inspiring a lot of people. Even it was funny when we went to dinner the other night, and Kyle was like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen all your stuff."
That was so awesome. Yeah.
You know, what got you started on this path? Like, what was that inflection point? I'm always curious.
Yeah, well, I like to put it like this. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but as we've talked about so many times, I have this like visceral, like just biological issue when I'm not aligned with something. Like when I feel like I'm square peg round hole, it's hard for me to live. And so like just being in the corporate world for a while where nothing's all one thing. Like it wasn't bad. I still have great friends from there. I've learned a lot of valuable things, but you know that feeling. Like you're going to some place every day and you're like, this is not me. And so it was a pursuit to find that spot where I love doing something and it adds value. There's the practical piece like, hey, it's got to add value in a marketplace. Unless you want it to be a hobby, which is a different story.
Right.
So it was like, I'm pretty creative, and I, while I was working, simultaneously was writing songs, playing shows around Boston. I was producing songwriters in Boston, Massachusetts. I was doing creative writing. I was taking the camera out and storytelling and making videos, blogging, just kind of seeing what I liked. And like you would think or expect, when you leave the financial service industry to do that, the money tanks, right? Especially right out of the gate. So it was like, I had this, anxiety that I hadn't had before, and your brain starts going, well, hey, dude, it was nice to wake up every day and not have to worry about being broke. Like maybe that wasn't so bad. Maybe you go do that.
Yeah.
And I wrote this speech called Ode to Excellence. It was like 3.5 minutes, something like that, 4 minutes. And it was just a promise to myself. It was like, Eddie, this is the first time you've actually done something where a lot's on the line and your back is against the wall. Promise yourself that you'll have the courage to see it through just once. Because I have a feeling that if the walls crash down, the sky falls, you'll be all right. And so Ode to Excellence was a promise to continue down that road. And made a video, wrote a speech, put together, the background music in one package. I'm like, this is so fun, and put it out into the world, and started getting that feedback from people that's like, oh my God, this helped me so much. Or I played this for my team. It inspired my mom who's going through X, Y, and Z. And you just have that light bulb moment. It's like, whatever this is, I don't know what to call it, but I'm gonna do it. And I've spent the last almost decade just chasing that, in inspirational storytelling in a lot of different ways, whether it's live or digital or, hanging out with buddies, talking shop. It's just been my calling, and love it.
What I heard is that you started creating.
Yes.
You consider yourself a creative?
Yes, very much.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's through a myriad of conversations, but it's like that concept, like creatives are the people that take what people are feeling and thinking and turn it into more like physical reality.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that's like a painting or a speech or whatever, but it's taking something that's like the invisible to the visible, if you will. And I think also Rob Dyrdek, are you familiar with him?
Yeah, I know of him. The skateboarder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a smart dude. He's business mogul now for sure. I listen to a lot of his content from time to time, and he talks about that. He says like that'll be the instant thing that gets you out of any funk, because you just start creating. And that's what I heard from your story is like, okay, you have these doubts, these back and forths of, here's the thing is that like life, you gotta pick what you want, and there's always gonna be like a good and bad with both sides. Like you're in the finance space, probably making some decent money, but not like super fulfilled.
Yes.
And then you're like, all right, don't want to do that anymore, and you flip it, and you're like, okay, now not making as much money, but you're feeling more fulfilled. So it's like you just get to you pick which one you want. And it's just interesting. Like I had a friend that he was telling me for the longest time, he was, you know, having all these challenges with like not feeling like he's doing what he's aligned with, and then he moved, and then things all got shifted, and then because of that he wasn't making any money, and like his brain was kind of, well, was it that bad?
Yeah.
Right? But like when you follow that, your intuition, you follow your heart, you follow what you're meant to do, and getting into that place where you're round peg, round hole.
Yeah.
Square peg, round hole. I think that's where life becomes really beautiful. And when you can obviously monetize it, all the better.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. It's like detaching from an outcome, because to your point, if you look at it just rationally, it doesn't make sense. You know, like on paper, to leave a job that's paying you well, you know, you're comfortable. It's not like I was a multimillionaire, but I was comfortable. And it's like, and now you're in a home studio creating videos for 30 people, poor, your family's worried, you have no upside, you're in your mid-20s, all your friends are talking about how great life is, so your ego hurt. It's like, that doesn't make sense. But there's gotta be some self-trust in understanding that there's a cost. If you wanna do things differently, you can. Like, the world will provide that. You just have to sort of push through it. And I think what you're talking about with creativity applies to just art in general. Like, human beings aren't pragmatic. We act when we feel. And so, in a way, we are vehicles for that. You know, we're bringing emotion to things or color to things that a lot of people, you know, if you just look around, look black and white. And I think that's just invaluable. You know, one of the things, and I'm sure this is debatable and a lot of different takes on this, but I love the idea of when it comes to like big picture things, you use your heart. Like where you're pointing the compass, where you're going is heart. Does it feel good? Is it intuitive? Is it aligned? And then when you say, yep, this is where I'm going, and you have to, you know, start moving down that path, then you use your brain. Then you become pragmatic. Then you become analytical. How do I pivot? What have they done that works? What have the people done before me that it hasn't? So it's like this marriage of two. But I think, yeah, the heart just carries so much, and people just skip it, you know?
Dude, I love that you said that, and that lines with what we are always saying is like the woo and the do.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, the woo and the do.
And it's like you follow your heart, and that's the big picture thing. And it's like, this is what I'm going after. That's the direction I'm going in. And then I think I was even having a call right before this, and it's really interesting with what we're doing now, is because like you'll get people in the extremes sometimes. So I've actually, especially since our messaging is along the lines of manifestation, it definitely attracts a little bit more of the woo side. And it's like I gotta, you know, reel some of these, specifically women in, where they're like, oh yeah, I just want to like help as many people as possible. I was like, great, I love that.
But how?
let's bring that down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's exactly right. And it's like even quantifying that with, like I always like to do like 90-day stretches where you're like, okay, what's the 90-day goal that gets us into momentum so that we can like really start moving towards that direction of, you know, becoming a best-selling author.
Sure.
What was the vision when you started? What was it that your heart was telling you of where you're going and who you're becoming?
I couldn't tell you a month ahead. And I'm not sure if like, you know, if someone asked me and they're in my shoes, like I would be lying if I said, I think you need a 5-year plan. I just don't know if that's the case. You know, my friend Evan Carmichael said this, and it always stuck with me when we were having a conversation about this exact thing. He's like, if you know what you're doing 3 years from now exactly, you're not thinking big enough. Because if you're really immersed in what's meaningful, life is going to pull you all kinds of different directions, you know? So it's for me, I just wanted to tell stories that mattered. I wanted to share my highs, share my lows, and do it in a way like that got that creative side out, that felt almost poetic, because I just felt so fulfilled to be able to do that and use it as an outlet. So yeah, I really wasn't thinking like 10 years from now, this is what it, you know? And I think I learned a lot because of that. because any path, especially like, you get put in the personal development space, which it's fair, right? But there's a black and white way to do a lot of things, right? You need to do webinars, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so many times I'm like, okay, this is what everyone's doing, and I'd just go. And then after a month, I'd be like, what am I doing? This is not me, and I'd go back. And so like, it's this giant game of like trial and error. And by the way, not all of it was wrong. Obviously, people have been successful for a reason. It's like a buffet, you take pieces, but it's just like, do what you think's meaningful, do what you enjoy, do what adds value, and just sort of let the carpet roll out at your feet. And that was the approach that I took.
Well, something that's come to me a lot, and even adheres to what you just said, is that like, you can do anything that you want, just not everything that you want.
Yeah.
And it's like, everything works. Like just we said, webinars work if you go all in on webinars.
Right.
VSLs work if you want to do that. YouTube works if you want to do that. But it's like this like dabbling mentality.
Yes.
Just slows things down. And that's like what I've learned so much from you in the time that we've gotten to share with each other. Because I brought it, like when we were coming back from the lake, I brought up an idea of like, oh, I could do this, and you're like, is that the one thing? And I was like, shit.
There's just so much weight to being, the, what is it, 1,000-pound gorilla, 800, what's the term? The giant gorilla in a small space, that even allows you to then, if you want to, extend your tentacles into other things, do it, but invest in being, great at something. And Kanye, for example, has not made $1 billion in shoes because from day one he wanted to be a shoe guy. He went all in on rap and music and production and became one of the best at that, which then once you have that leverage, then you can dabble and bounce. But I always advocate being the 1%, making that your goal, whatever you can do, because the doors that opens is just indescribable.
It's powerful, and I remember seeing, I don't know if this was actually true, but the message was right. Zuckerberg, was he training for like a fight, like a boxing fight?
I remember him and Elon Musk were talking about that. Obviously didn't come to fruition, but that's what I remember. Okay,
so there was like some seedlings of it. But what's interesting is that like, obviously he was never planning on being like a boxer.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, because of the fact that he went all in on one thing and just got all into it, like so many other opportunities are gonna spawn from that.
Yes.
And I could even imagine that with your case, is like, you just decided you're gonna be the best at storytelling, and then you've grown this platform, and then all these other opportunities come because of that.
Exactly. And you refine the skills that allow you to spread out. Like a lot of times the idea is the cart goes before the horse. I do a lot of live speaking now because I've been speaking into a camera forever.
Yeah.
And if I asked for the type of fees I get now, 6-7 years ago, not only would the answer have been absolutely not, but I wouldn't have been deserving of it because I just wouldn't have been good enough to warrant that. So a part of it's like, allow yourself to grow into that vision.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because it's like coming back to like the conversation around the woo. Like, I truly believe that we are special, unique human beings, and we're all equal, and like from a human standpoint.
Yes.
But just what you said is like, at the same time, like you wouldn't put a little leaguer into the World Series.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So when people say like, oh, I'm not getting what I deserve, I'm like, well, like you made one video, like technically like you don't deserve to like speak on a stage in front of 100,000 people. Like,
yes.
You don't deserve that yet, right? And like you said, it's like you build that skill, and then eventually you will. And you prove to yourself and you prove to others that you have the skill to actually administer that.
Jim Rohn, I don't remember the exact quote, I butcher it, but he talks about that. I have his audiobook on loop. The only thing I've listened to probably like 10 times.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, what is it? You don't get what you deserve, like you get what fill in the blank you've earned, or what you're capable of doing in that moment. There's a sense of entitlement that it was one of my most important. I actually learned it first in college, like on the crew team, the rowing team, just like being on this machine and suffering. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm so badass, and there's people down at the dorms drinking beer, and I'm in all this pain, and I'll never be the coach looking at the screen, you know, because it tells you exactly how hard you're pulling. And him just being like, well, that's not good enough. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm suffering, right? So I would like pull harder, and he'd be like, look, people at Georgetown and Wisconsin and Yale, they're suffering too, but they're pulling faster. So like, it's not just about deserving something because you're there. And that was like, boom, light bulb moment, right? Yeah, it hurts, but you also have to figure out a way to be better and efficient. And yeah, that's the magic.
Yeah, get better.
Get better, simple as that.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, this was a question that came to me just as you were talking a moment ago, is talking about like that one thing, and then, you know, there's all sorts of distractions that will come in, thoughts, ideas. What is something that you're really proud of that you've said no to, that like kept you in line with your thing?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I've left companies and partnerships with people that I respect a lot, and not only that, there's a ton of upside in the companies, and so it's another one of those things where heart and head, like, you know, they go at each other, but it's like, even if this made $1 billion, like I wouldn't enjoy myself, I wouldn't be able to, I don't know, I want to go my route, you know, and do what feels good. So that's probably it. Like, you feel nuts saying no to people that just have a great track record of success, are very financially successful, and it's just, no, in your lane, you know. And it's not like you cast them out, they're your buddies and hopefully allies along the way, but yeah, learning to say no to that is not very intuitive. It does not feel good, but you have to.
I heard something recently by a pretty smart guy, and he was like, probably one of the most powerful things that you can do that'll help you really step into your power even more is saying no to money.
I think that's right. That's right. Well, because money's a lagging indicator, and I really do believe that. Like, it's why I like flinch when people are like, get rich online. It's like, doing what? Because get rich online is an empty Amazon truck. What's in the back? Again, what are you the best at? What are you doing? If in order to be great at something, it is so hard, and there's so much competition, that you have to be excited and a little curious and looking for new ways and trying new things and pouring yourself into something. Because if you're not willing to do that, you can't be great. You just can't. And so, yeah, there's, you know, there's always going to be detours and things pulling you in different directions, but like, you have to love it to want to be all in on it.
Yeah. So what's kind of the direction moving forward? Like, who do you want to continue to become? Like, what do you want to continue to stay passionate with?
Sure. Yeah, like I obviously pie in the sky goals, you know, I want to be like a modern day Emerson. That's been the avatar. And it's like, well, what does that look like? It could look like a million things, you know, but I just love helping people. I love getting those emails that are like, dude, I was stuck, or I'm going through such a terrible time, and this helped me think about things differently. And it's just, I can't even explain the satisfaction you get. It's like, you're making a difference, you know? And so through writing and speaking, I want to continue to do that. And I'm sure, you know, 8 years from now, it's going to look a lot different than it looks now, and that's fine. But that's definitely a direction. Yeah.
Emerson, baby.
Emerson.
Why Emerson?
I just think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I love how, you know, he's just a student of the world, and he'll tie personal development into philosophy, into politics, and just create this roadmap for, you know, how to live life, you know, from so many different angles, and does it in ways that resonates with people, you know.
Who is he a big influence in your life then? Or is there other, I wanted to ask, like, who else is a big influence in your life? Yeah,
I mean, you know, him and Thoreau, but like a lot of modern day folks as well. Like, I get influence from a lot of people. Jim Rohn, I quote all the time, because I love how he's philosophical, but also very practical.
Yeah.
You know, he'll bring it right down to earth and make it like, this is how it applies to your day now. You know, I get a lot of inspiration from like music, you know, from certain speakers, just different different things, you know. And it's funny because there are times where you wake up and you need sort of an Eric Thomas or Gary Vee being like, work harder, figure it out, be better. And then there are days where maybe you want more of a Jordan Peterson, like, here's how the world works, and maybe you're feeling this way because X, Y, and Z, and here's how you can put pieces together differently. So like, there's not one thing, but there's a lot of different.
It's funny as you say that. I always, like, my brain is just in this lane now of like the woo and the do. And so when you say like the Eric Thomas type, like that's the do energy.
Yeah.
And then like Jordan Peterson's more, a little bit more like
Let's unpack it a little. Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's like just having something there to remind yourself. Because I think also, you know, as our minds can just kind of be scattered, like it's easy to lose focus.
Yeah.
And until you like constantly like just have something that you keep on going back to, it's like what do they say, the repetition is the mother of all skill. And then even just from like a neuroscience level, like that, what that does to your subconscious is like you're just constantly reprogramming yourself the more that you listen to personal development, or you listen to the AT, you listen to the Jordan Peterson, you're literally programming your subconscious mind, and then we start operating from our subconscious.
Yeah.
And so that's why, you know, we obviously created the Vision Espresso. And I feel like that could be a good time for us to transition to listening to yours.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
What do you think?
Let's
Ready?
go. I'm so excited for this.
Cool. Give me 1 second.
Welcome to All Tech Lansing.
All right, so there's a little bit of an intro. I don't know if you recall this or not, but it'll ask you what your intention is for the day, and then what is one thing that you're grateful for.
Okay.
So when it prompts you that, just speak that out, and then it'll lead into a little bit of a breath work, and then it'll fade right into your audio. Cool?
Perfect.
All right.
Now, before I hand you off to your highest self, I have 3 things for you. 1, what is your intention for today? Say it out loud.
To be present and focus on being here.
Good. Number 2, what is one thing you're grateful for right now? Say it out loud.
Great friends and a great community in Arizona.
Awesome. Now 3, I want you to take 10 highly connected, highly conscious breaths.
Hey Eddie, it's me, it's you, the future you. I'm so excited for you to get here, to see who you've become and all you've created. Yeah, the transformation into peak physical condition, the creation of a best-selling personal development book, the establishment of a multi-million-dollar business, the deep and meaningful relationship with your soulmate, the ownership of luxurious homes in Scottsdale, Boston, and Florida, the inspiring journey from popular YouTuber to a household name and motivation, and all the lives you've had a massive impact on, especially your own. Eddie, you're incredible. There's absolutely no one out there like you. And as you continued to listen to that vision audio from Nico is when things really started to shift. Your journey was unfolding more beautifully than you could have ever imagined. Picture this. Every morning, you wake up in a stunning modern house that overlooks the ocean. The sunrises are spectacular, something out of a painting, and you watch them unfold beside the love of your life. Each day starts with warmth and a shared silence that speaks volumes. You established a morning ritual that fueled both body and mind. After sipping your coffee, you dive into writing sessions that felt more like soulful explorations. Your words didn't just fill pages, they sparked ideas, pushing you to share deeper thoughts with the world. Physically, you transformed. You committed to rigorous workouts, sculpting your body to peak condition, like a warrior from the epics you admired. This strength wasn't just physical, it brought an inner confidence that seeped into every aspect of your life, empowering you to tackle challenges with unmatched zeal. In your professional life, you shattered expectations. Your YouTube channel became a beacon, amassing millions of subscribers who tuned in not just for personal development, but for inspiration. Your podcast episodes, they became a ritual for listeners, each download spreading your influence further, making you a household name in motivation and personal growth. Financially, you were a powerhouse. You didn't just reach your goal of $1.5 million in revenue. You doubled it, and then some. You invested wisely, putting money into your business to expand your creative team and multiply your output. Your best-selling book on personal development became a testament to your vision, changing lives with each copy sold. You also found profound happiness in relationships. The serious connection you longed for turned into a beautiful reality. She was everything you hoped for and more, bringing peace when you needed calm and challenging you to grow when you felt complacent. Together, you traveled the world, finding new adventures in every corner, from jet skiing across azure waves to trekking through lush, unknown trails. Your lifestyle was the epitome of your dreams realized. You lived across multiple homes, each reflecting a different shade of your life. A ranch in Scottsdale, a modern condo in Boston, a beachside retreat in Florida. Each home was a sanctuary, a place where you and your family could thrive. Eddie, I love you. I love who you are. I love who you've always been. And I love who you're constantly becoming. Now get up and make it a great day.
That hits hard, man. That was beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for putting your trust in us.
So that can be an alarm every morning?
Yeah.
All right.
It's a new alarm. You know,
To hear your future self say "I love you" is like, it's meaningful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you think about like who's the person that cares about you the absolute most. You know, like we have our friends, we have our family and stuff like that, but who cares about you more than your future self?
Yeah. No one.
I heard a quote that was like, my biggest goal in life is to meet my highest self and be looking in the mirror. You know, my biggest fear is meeting my highest self and not recognizing.
Oh my God.
At the end of your life.
And there's so much comfort, I think, in you just worry that you're doing things wrong, or certain decisions weren't right, or some of those things you moved away from should you have. And just the comfort of being like, you're on a path and you're doing what you think is best, and you're making your future self proud, like just live your life, is certainly a message that I need. You know, that's, powerful stuff.
We all need it.
Amen. Yeah.
There's this kind of new concept that I've been really thinking about lately, and we might even turn this into our marketing message for the espresso. But think about how would you memorize a song? Like, and you think about it, because like, are you familiar with the law of vibration?
No.
So ultimately what it says is that like we attract the vibration that we put out. You heard of this?
Vaguely.
Okay. So yeah, we're coming back more woo a little bit.
Let's go. Right into it.
But it's that dominant vibration. It's the dominant thoughts and vibration. So if like, let's say you listen to your espresso for 5 minutes a day, but then you go immediately back into fear, scarcity, lack, and just worrying about what's going to happen and what's going on, if I'm doing things right. And that's the dominant thoughts and the dominant vibration all day long. That's what you're going to continue to create. And so I correlated this to, like, basically your vibration is the same as like whatever song that you have memorized. So if you want to memorize this new song that is peace, love, abundance, then you have to get in that vibration and make that your dominant vibration. And so the way I, again, correlate that, it's like a song that you would memorize. So how would you memorize a song? Would you just do like one lyric at a time? Or would you just make that part of your life and just constantly tune into that song?
Sure.
And so that's like what I think our marketing message is, like, let us help you create your song, and then you just listen to it all day.
Yeah. Yeah, give yourself something to aspire to. It's funny because like you just get so caught up in details and like the minutia that you lose. It's very easy to forget the big picture, you know? And so, yeah, that's good. So that every morning. And then what are some things you do? I remember you saying you listen to yours a few times throughout the day.
Yeah.
Is that to sort of, you know, just keep it front and center, or are there other things you do? Because I just resonate with that concept of maintaining that energy. And obviously life's not perfect, there's ebbs and flows, but I would love to hear like what advice you have for me, someone to aspire to, like, you know, up that.
Yeah.
You know, what would you suggest?
Well, just coming back to that metaphor is like, how quickly how can you get into that energy as much as you possibly can? I think is always the question. And so the espresso will help you get into that energy every time you listen to it. So our protocol that we always mention to people is do it one time a day. But like, if you want to draw that type of energy in even quicker, then you listen to it more. So generally speaking, the more that you listen to it, the more you're going to be in that energy, the more that you're going to attract that type of stuff in.
Yeah.
However, with that also being said, is like from a neuroscientific level, is, have you heard of like brain waves where it's like theta, beta, that type of conversation?
I know of it, but I could definitely not go in depth. Yeah.
So beta is what most of us are in all throughout the day. So after we turn about 12 years old, we get out of, you know, basically what's called theta. That's why we're so impressionable when we're young. Our brain waves are very much like this, where it's like, I always say this, like it's the door to our subconscious. And so when we're in beta brain waves, it's like the door is closed. But that's like when we're 0 to 12, the door is open. So anything that you're just like a sponge. That's why, like, from a brain level, like that's why we're so impressionable.
Yeah.
And so the other reason that we do breath work so much is because that actually gets you so present and mindful and grounded that actually puts you into more like beta brain waves, where it like opens up the door. So that's why it's really important to do the breath work before you do it. And with that said too, is like the other 2 times that the doors, so to speak, open is right when you're waking up and right as you're falling asleep. And so that's why it's really important to be very conscious of what you're intaking right before you go to bed and then right as you're waking up. So I always do my best to listen to it like as the last thing I do before I go to bed and as I'm waking up.
Got it. Okay. It's funny because like you, just from a practical standpoint, it's like maintain that childlike curiosity, right? Be a kid, explore, and then when you can kind of connect it with some of these things, it's like, well, it makes a lot more sense why, you know, we're always trying to revert back to that ability to just change and take life in. You know? So, okay, theta brainwaves it is.
Yeah, I get nerdy on this stuff.
I love it.
Because it, like with you, so like, have you ever heard of the book they call The Secret?
Yeah. Yep.
So my mom gave me a copy of that when I was 18, and it just opened up my perspective, because I was like, what? You can like visualize things and then it'll come into your life? And then, like, again, it sounds pretty woo-woo, but then I took some of the exercises in that book and they said just visualize seeing a dollar bill on the ground. And I would do that. I did that for a few days, and then I went to the mall a couple days later with my friends and I found a $5 bill on the ground. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Like, maybe it was coincidence, maybe not, but I was like, it felt like I created that. And so I kept applying that. and I would apply it to baseball, where I'd see myself hitting home runs off the 7 of the scoreboard, and then that happened. I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. And then what happens, I started diving into the works of Joe Dispenza, and he brought all the science to it, and it started explaining the brain waves and how this stuff all works from a scientific level. And that's when it all clicked over for me, because it was like, before it was just like, okay, is this coincidence? Is it kind of like just a woo-woo stuff?
Sure.
But then when he brought the science in, I was like, oh, it's kind of hard to dispute this stuff when there's like a lot of backing behind it.
So poke holes in this, and I'm sure there's a whole library of information on this, but just at a high level, you know, I've always thought having a picture of a yacht on your wall doesn't put you in a yacht, or on a yacht. But what it would do is inspire you to act in a way that would make that more likely, because you are seeing it and believing it, even subconsciously. So like the $5 bill thing, it didn't put a $5 bill in front of you, but maybe thinking about it prompted you to look out for it and pay attention. Like, is that what you're saying, or is there an entire piece of that I'm missing?
No, I mean, it's definitely along those lines. I almost kind of have a little bit of a beef with vision boards.
Yeah.
And that's why I created what we did, is because if what you focus on expands, that's probably like the best way that I can describe it. So like, here we go. This is one of my favorite things to help draw this in. And so just focus on the saliva in your mouth, okay? Just focus on it. Do you notice how like the amount of saliva starts to grow as you focus on it?
Yes.
So what you focus on expands. And even Einstein did this thing called the double slit test. And so basically it was, they shot a quantum particle at a wall that had 2 doors. And that quantum particle actually split and went through both doors. And they're like, okay, that's interesting. Then they put a guy on door number 1 looking at door number 1. And then they shot the particle only went through door number 1.
Yeah.
They moved the guy to door 2, they did it again, the particle went through door 2. They take the guy away, they shoot it, it goes through both doors again.
Yeah, quantum's crazy.
So then they're like, oh, where attention goes, energy flows. So what you focus on expands. That's like the basis of it all. Now, where my beef comes in with vision boards is that when you focus on something, but you're not feeling good about it, you're actually like detracting that from you, because like you don't actually feel like you're worthy of that. And then that unpacks a whole other thing. But with vision boards, like there's no emotion to it. Like you even, like the first thing that you said, like after we finished the espresso, you're like, wow, like I felt that. That was powerful, I felt it. And again, coming back to like when you're in that feeling, the law of vibration, you're attracting in whatever dominant feeling and vibration you are in. And so there's no feeling with vision boards, but what you focus on expands, but when you add emotion to it, that's when it draws in so much quicker.
Yeah.
And then even what you said is like our emotions are just there to take action, to get us to take an action.
Right.
And so when you feel aligned, that's why like, here's the other thing that I sometimes have a little beef with is like just completely grinding and pursuing past like anything that doesn't feel good. Like obviously there's a balance to it. Like don't just like not do things because they don't feel good, but like how can you get in the energy of feeling good about your future and then being inspired to take action rather than just like grinding through it. And so like that's what that is like it helps you get in the emotion of like feeling good about this is the direction I'm going, and then feeling so inspired that you do take action on it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think listening to that will help. And when I went through the exercise, it just makes it real. You know, like people, you don't run a race if you don't think it's winnable.
Right.
You just, so like, you know, seeing that on top of a mountain, it's like, okay, like walking through that exercise of saying, this is real if you want it. Do you want it? Okay, then act accordingly, you know? And it was, felt it for sure.
Yeah, one of my mentors talks about how like we will never take action, just what you said, on things that we don't find interesting and possible. So once you like put more attention to it, like the focus expands, and then you start finding more, like you finding ways to make it more interesting. You find ways to make it possible. And I think also it's like about building momentum. It's not about like, oh, I'm sitting here and then I'm gonna manifest this multi-million-dollar home when I don't have 2 nickels, you know?
Sure.
It's about like, okay, well, how can I make $10? How can I make $100? And then you start building that momentum, and then you feel that possibility growing within yourself of like, then you can take that action and feel inspired on it.
Yep. Earning that confidence as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Love it.
Good stuff, man. So, let's see how much time we got left. We got about a minute left. But you mentioned something there, like earning that confidence. Like, talk to me a little bit more about, like, what is confident? Like, talk to me through, like, your journey with confidence through your journey of creating these videos.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's as simple as dropping yourself in uncomfortable circumstances until you realize, okay, I can do this. Or maybe it doesn't go the way you want, or the outcome's not good, or maybe even borderline embarrassing, but you go, okay, hurt the ego, hurt the pride, but guess what? I'm still here, and here's round two. And it's just, you start learning that sort of stepping into that is not the worst thing. It's actually, it builds you. The worst thing is to not do it. And to wait for these perfect moments that never come. So when I think of confidence, building confidence, I think of, 2016, speaking on stages for the first time, subpar at best, right? Yeah. But like shaking backstage and just being like, one, am I qualified to do this? I don't deserve to be here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what's gonna happen? They're not gonna like me, all those things. And, but you just shut that off, you do it anyway. And the second you step off stage, okay, I am the type of person who can do this, right? And so it's a staircase up perpetually. And that's where I think confidence comes from, like it's the idea of fake it till you make it. Depending on how you look at it, people have their opinions on that. I don't think you're faking anything. I think you're giving yourself permission to not be good and continuously step into that. It's playing the student. And so that's like.
I love that, man. Yeah. And I resonate with that wholeheartedly about the speaking.
Yeah.
Anytime I speak in front of an audience, I still get nervous. And I think that's always going to be the case.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
And I think, standing up and speaking in front of people is probably one of the, I've always, for whatever reason, I've always wanted to do it. But the act of actually doing it was probably one of the best things that ever could have happened to me. Because every time I feel like just what you were saying is like every time I'm nervous to do something, but then I persevere, pass through those nerves and actually do it, I grow into that next version of myself. And then again, that's like, I'm in that energy now of becoming my higher self. Yeah. Every time I push past those nerves.
That's it. And it sounds easy to say and even exciting to say, us sitting here, but like that moment, like, when you don't have to do, there's no gun to your head. You better speak. It's like, no, you have to will yourself up there. And I bet the nervousness you feel now is probably a little different than day one, because you can visualize the outcome and things will be fine. It's just a different. I know we're over. I don't know if you have time for a quick story.
Yeah, go for it.
But this is, I just feel like it paints that picture so beautifully. It was an open mic night in Florida, just a random like Tuesday or Thursday, I forget. But there were poets, and it was like a slam poetry thing, and I was just kind of sitting in the front with my friend and watching local people go up, and they call this girl's name, and she goes up and starts, and she has like her notes app, and so she's reading her poem, and she's like, this is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me. And her hands are like shaking as she's reading, and she's containing herself, so in her voice you can't hear it, but I'm front row. Wow. So I can see this girl's just like fighting demons to be up there. And it almost brought me to tears, because I'm like, she has no idea how much her life is gonna change.
Yes.
She's gonna prove to herself that she can do this, that she's talented enough, that the stage is for her. She's gonna step down and be like, all right. And it opens the door for more stages and more writing and more opportunity. And she just changed her life by doing what I think the majority of people wouldn't have done. Because you just see the innate freaking fear in her, And I got choked up watching it, but I'm like, that's life. It's like, what will you do with shaky hands? That's where confidence comes from, you know?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Because like fear, I would argue that fear just like determines most people's fate.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah.
Because like, I had this thought come to me probably like a year and a half ago, or more so this question that came to me is, what are you scared of and when are you gonna face it? And if you just keep asking yourself that question and you actually go through with facing those fears, like it just feels so free. Coming back to the thing we talked about, is like anytime I face fear and I just face it and go through with it, I overcome it. So like with that girl you're talking about, she was obviously petrified to be up there, but she did it. She went through with it and she experienced that. And because of that, she just unlocked a whole new level of her life.
Yes.
And I just think that like you said, most people will never face that fear. And I think another thing that comes to me a lot is like, people are afraid of not being good. I correlate this with country swing dancing, because it's just like a fun part of my life now. But in the beginning, I sucked. Like, it was not fun. And I was like, talking to somebody, is like, things generally are not fun until you're good at them.
Yeah.
So it's like, how willing are you able to go through those periods where you suck and you're not good at it?
Yeah.
But just having fun in that sense, and it builds so much confidence going through that process of sucking until you don't suck.
Yeah. Letting your ego take a beating. It's like, it's okay, it's all right. Yeah, man, that's exactly. And like, as things, because I feel like in a similar way, you know, we both sort of conditioned ourselves to do that. I certainly identify myself as someone that does that. But, you know, what was the ceiling becomes the floor. And so you can have this story in your head. I'm the guy that, you know, does the hard thing and steps into fear, and, you know, but are you? Because now the next thing is just as scary and you haven't done it yet. Exactly. And it's why you need a circle, you know, buddies like you to be like, Ed, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Or let's go. What do you know, we have these amazing conversations where, Nico, maybe you could do this. And then, Eddie, why haven't you done this? And it's like, oh yeah, you know, it's the new terrifying.
Exactly.
So that's, it doesn't go away, but I think the awareness and the earned confidence just you know, keeps you rolling.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think we'll end on that, is like who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And that's why like I'm so diligent and so intentional about surrounding myself with people that I aspire to be like in some capacity.
Amen. Yeah.
Right? And I even think back to that when we had dinner with a couple other friends that night, and you just gave this passionate rant of like, why are you not creating more content? And like, I honestly, like, I was sitting there like feeling a little uncomfortable. And then I was like, you know, sitting with that the rest of the night, and like, I was like, damn. But it it didn't feel comfortable hearing you say that. But then, even the rest of that evening, but then it was like, yeah.
You're like, it took 24 hours for me not to want to kill you.
It wasn't that. It was just like, I think it was also just being around like Kyle and James and like all these guys that are just like thinking big and like on a level that I want to continue to progress towards. And just like being around all these guys and like, you know, people giving ideas and different things and people chiming in and challenging each other.
Yeah, yeah.
It forced me to grow, and like over the last couple of weeks I've just been going ham with content.
That's amazing.
Feeling so inspired by it, and I just like, I told you that
Congrats on the YouTube growth, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and I think that includes putting yourself around people that are gonna force you to grow, are gonna help you grow, are gonna challenge you.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to like get like, yeah, just what you said is like, you grow to a point, you face those fears, and then it's like there's always going to be another level.
Yep.
And the only way that you continue to reach those new levels is you have people that you're surrounded by that guide you in those directions.
Call your blind spots. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, cool, brother. I appreciate you so much for being on. This was a lot of fun.
Hey, it's been an honor. Thanks for the convo and the Vision Espresso, and just rejuvenating, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. What's one thing that you'd love for people to take away from this conversation?
I think all of it can be summed up. I barely go a day without using this quote, but Nietzsche's, those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who couldn't hear the music. I think a lot of what we're talking about is fear-based, a lot of it is growth, a lot of it you feel alone and unsure, and it's that self-trust that, the world won't believe it until you create it, but you can, and that's why tools like, your company is so valuable, because it reminds you, hey, you're walking towards something. Your neighbor might not be able to see it, your mom might not get it, your friends might not get it, but you do. And every day you're getting a little closer to that. That would be what I'd call people to remember.
Yeah, I love that.
So
yeah, you're crazy until you're a genius.
Exactly, dude, exactly. And the switch happens quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, cool, brother. Again, thank you so much. Any other last word? Where can people find you?
On YouTube, Eddie Pinero, or Instagram, Eddie Pinero, Your World Within podcast.
Yeah, just a little thing.
Pop on by, say what's up.
Cool, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Hey, likewise, brother.